Kaina is a young man living on the canopy, a massive organic membrane suspended high above the surface by orbital spire trees. However, the orbital spire trees have been slowly dying out along with the villages that rely on them for survival, with Kaina's own village believing they are the last remaining one on the canopy. Kaina meanwhile wonders if humans have been able to survive on the snow sea on the surface of the planet. Meanwhile on the snow sea, Princess Ririha attempts to catch a floater so she can go find the sage, who she hopes can help save her country of Atland. Her group is then ambushed by a boat from the rival nation of Valgan. Her bodyguards sacrifice themselves to allow her to escape on the floater, which travels all the way up to Canopy. Kaina happens to catch sight of Ririha while out hunting, and narrowly manages to rescue her before the floater drifts away. Kaina takes Ririha back to his villages where she explains her situation. Her country of Atland is like many others on the snow sea, situated at the base of orbital spire trees since those are the only locations with solid ground to settle on and collect water. However, like the canopy, the snow sea is suffering from a severe water shortage, causing the militant country of Valgia to invade other countries to steal their water. Ririha traveled to the canopy in hopes of finding the sage who is rumored to be able to create water, but is disappointed to learn he does not exist. The villagers task Kaina with guiding Ririha down to the snow sea, knowing that it is likely a one-way trip. They also gift him salvaged climbing gear and a laser-cutting tool to assist in the journey. Kaina and Ririha continue their descent down the snow sea as forces from both Valgia and Atland search for Ririha. In the distance, a nearby orbital spire tree collapses. As they travel, Kaina tells Ririha that his mother died during childbirth while his father died on a hunting trip. Ririha tells him that her mother died from illness when she was young, while her father rules Atland. Ririha also tells Kaina about the legend of the sage, who created water when the planet was first settled by humans. However, after humans began to war with each other, the sage withdrew to the canopy and the snow sea formed afterwards. Ririha also reveals that she was informed about the existence of the canopy thanks to Light, a strange, otherworldly entity that Kaina had also seen occasionally. After several days, the pair finally reach the bottom of the tree only to be met by a Valgian patrol. Seeing that Atland's cavalry has also arrived, Kaina and Ririha jump onto a nearby floater to get over the snow sea and then leap into the sea. But the Valgians are able to capture them before the Atlantean cavalry led by Orinoga can reach them. Orinoga tries to rescue Ririha, but the Valgian officer leading the patrol proves to be too powerful for him to defeat, leading Ririha to order him to take Kaina to safety instead. Forced to follow Ririha's order, Orinoga leaves her behind and takes Kaina to Atland. Ririha's father is disheartened to hear of Ririha's capture, but refuses to authorize another rescue attempt due to the casualties Atland has suffered so far. Kaina is given a room to stay in, where he encounters Ririha's younger brother Yeona. Yeona reveals that their father does not intend to negotiate with Valgia, and is preparing for war. He also informs Kaina that Ririha will most likely be brought to the negotiations taking place on a neighboring spire tree. Kaina gets the idea to use his air tanks to breathe underneath the snow sea and walk to the other spire tree through its interconnected root system with other trees. Yeona decides to come along and guides Kaina through a secret passage leading to the snow sea. Kaina and Yeona make their way through abandoned ruins underneath Atland until they reach the snow sea, while Light secretly watches them. They then begin the long trek along the bottom of the snow sea, following the spire tree routes. Meanwhile, Ririha is brought to the negotiation point, where she meets the Valgian admiral in charge of the negotiations. She bluffs and claims that she made contact with the sage who promised to destroy Valgia if they attack Atland. But the Valgians are skeptical of her claims. As the Atland envoys head for the negotiation point, Kaina and Yeona attempt to pick up their pace by latching onto an undersea creature. However, they are thrown off and Kaina is knocked unconscious. The Atland envoys meet the admiral and announce that Atland will not negotiate with Valgia, and the admiral subsequently kills them. By the time Kaina regains consciousness, it is already dark, but he spots Ririha being held in a cage on the admiral's flagship. He and Yeona decide to continue with the rescue mission while Light continues to secretly watch them. The admiral has Ririha caged on the mast of his flagship, intending to force Atland to watch her freeze to death to break their morale. Kaina and Yeona are able to sneak aboard the flagship and manage to quietly free Ririha. They then hide out in the flagship's cargo hold, where Ririha deliberately sets a small boat loose to misdirect the Valgians into thinking they escaped by sea. The trio then hide in one of the cargo crates in the hold while the Valgians try to track down the boat. With Ririha gone, the admiral grudgingly decides to return to Valgia. Once the flagship reaches Valga, Kaina, Ririha, and Yeana are able to slip out and escape into the depths of the massive floating city. Kaina, Ririha, and Yeana explore Valgia and see that most of the city is an impoverished slum where the citizens are struggling to survive amid water shortages. When they let their guard down, most of their belongings are stolen by a gang of children, including a young girl named Kairu who steals Ririha's necklace. Kairu attempts to trade the necklace for water, but the Valgian soldiers recognize it as Ririha's. The admiral concocts a plan to publicly execute Kairu to draw Ririha out. Not wanting to have an innocent child die her place, Ririha reveals her presence. Kairu is released, but when the Valgians attempt to capture Ririha, she leaps into the snow sea below with Kaina Reed to pull her out. Kairu's gang, the Skull Brotherhood, then shelter Kaina and his friends in thanks for saving Kairu. Their leader Nose explains the Brotherhood is made up of children captured from nations destroyed by Valgia, and that Valgia once was a ship trying to rescue countries in peril as the orbital spire trees began drying up. Kaina then recalls seeing massive orbital spire tree that appeared to still have water reserves while he lived up in the canopy, and if it is found, Atland and Valgia would have no reason to go to war, especially since the Admiral commands a secret weapon that can destroy Atland. However, Valgian troops find the Brotherhood's hideout and begin breaking in. The Brotherhood reveal that they had secretly built a raft which Kaina and the others can use to escape. While the Brotherhood distracts the guards, Kaina, Ririha, and Yeana escape Valgia on the raft, promising to find the Great Orbital Spire Tree. The trio sail through the night, and despite lacking the means to effectively navigate at night, they miraculously are able to find their way back to Atland in the morning. The Atlanteans rejoice at the safe return of Ririha and Yeana, and Kaina is welcomed as a hero. However, the king refuses to believe their stories about the Great Orbital Spire Tree, believing it is just a myth. While taking a steam bath with Ririha, Kaina suddenly remembers that he recognized ancient writing in the ruins beneath Atland that resembled the symbols he had learned to read on the canopy. Believing that a map to the Great Orbital Spire Tree is hidden in the ruins, Kaina and Ririha agree to go search for it to convince her father the tree really exists. As Valgia continues to advance on Atland, Kaina, Ririha, and Yeana travel to the underground ruins to find the map. In Valgia, the Brotherhood begins spreading word about the existence of the Great Orbital Spire Tree, which begins to increase war weariness among the Valgian population. The Valgian fleet then begins their attack on Atland, with both sides trading artillery fire. Meanwhile, Kaina is able to decipher an ancient tapestry and discovers it is indeed a map to the Great Orbital Spire Tree, but the way to it is blocked by a massive oceanic trench that ships cannot cross. However, Ririha discovers a massive snowfoil stick that can be used to construct a ship capable of crossing the trench. On the surface, Orinoga leads his cavalry to invade Valgia from the rear, but the admiral ignores him since he doesn't care about the civilians. General Amilathi takes it upon herself to intercept Orinoga while the admiral activates his secret weapon, an ancient war machine called the Builder. The Builder begins to advance towards Atland, completely impervious to the defenders' attacks. Orinoga engages in a duel with Amilathi despite being outmatched. Kaina, Ririha, and Yeana reach the castle with the map, only to find out the king has moved to the front line at the harbor. Kaina and Yeana are separated from Ririha when the Builder begins hurling artillery into the city, forcing Ririha to proceed alone. The admiral catches sight of Ririha and begins focusing his attacks on her. Ririha wonders if Atland can prevail when light intervenes, morphing into the legendary sea monster, the Ascender. However, the admiral attacks the Ascender anyways and apparently destroys his, and he continues his assault on the city. As Yeana guides an injured civilian to safety, Kaina continues on to find Ririha. Meanwhile, Ririha continues to search for her father when she realizes the Builder is focusing solely on her. The admiral continues his assault on Atland. However, his troops retreat in fear after witnessing him throwing one of their own ships at the city. The Valgian people then begin coming out to witness the battle, voicing their war weariness and discontent at the Valgian army. Realizing the admiral has gone mad, Amilathi allows Orinoga to leave to take him down. In Atland, Ririha rescues a trapped civilian, but the map is destroyed by fire in the process. Even without the map, she heads to reunite with her father and saves him from an attack from the Builder. The admiral then focuses on Ririha, but Kaina arrives and fires his laser cutter at full power, unleashing a massive laser beam that destroys the Builder. At the same time, Orinoga assassinates the admiral. With the destruction of the Builder and the admiral dead, Amilathi surrenders Valgia to Atland, but Ririha vouches for forming an alliance instead. Kiner recreates the map from memory while it land shares its water with Valgia. In return, Valga uses its industry and technology to develop a reliable means to travel to the canopy and make contact with Kina's village, as well as build a new ship capable of reaching the Great Orbital Spire Tree. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. If you want to watch more anime summaries, click on the next video.